today. I'm back. The Breakevens are back. Look out. I'm super excited. At the start of the season, we said that we weren't going to do a podcast because we didn't really have enough time. And we didn't want to half-ass any videos and stuff. So we gave it a little break, but I have the time. I'm here. I'll be here every Tuesday, uploading hopefully every Wednesday. Talking super coach, talking how my team is, my thoughts going ahead. Just some fun times. So as I said, I'm excited to be back. Jack's not here. He won't be doing the podcast for the short time being. But that's okay. You have me. And hopefully Jack will join us back soon if he pleases. So let's get straight into it. Our socials. Let's see if I can remember where our socials are. What do we do? So on Twitter or X at Breakevens Pod, most of our content, if not all, is over there. Always interacting with the community. In a few draft leagues with a few other content creators, so we're on there all the time. So if you do have any questions you want to send through, you can do it through there. If not, we have a Facebook group at the Breakevens. You'll see our Facebook group there. It's the same logo. Same thing. If you have any questions, make sure you send us through, if that's privately, or you can tag us. We're in Serious Super Coaches group on Facebook. So if you see any of our posts there, you have a question, make sure you comment below our post. And obviously here on YouTube at the Breakevens. So this podcast at the moment will only be on YouTube. We're going to look to expand back to all the other platforms that we were doing. But for now, it's going to keep it nice and chill on YouTube. And I think that's it. Yep, it's been a while. It's been a while, but I'm glad to be back. So let's get into it. And the first bit we're going to do is we're going to go through my team for round one. If you can, I mean, it's called round one, but it's not really round one. It's yeah, AFL decided to make a meal of it. So whatever round you want to call it, it is round one. Where everything starts. So we're going to go through my team, how I scored, and what I'm looking to go with in this next round regarding trades and who's on the chopping block. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so here is my team, the flock of gulls. It'll be that every single season. So as you saw, 2,124, ranked 44,756. I'm pretty happy with that score. The first game I wasn't really happy. You know, Richmond Carlton, I had Short, I had Williams, and I had Gibcus on field. And obviously we know what happened there. So it was a little bit worrying. And the Friday night wasn't really any better, but it picked up on the Saturday and Sunday, which is the main thing. So let's click into my team and let's show you how it started. So this is how I lined up. Dacos, Short, Young, Williams, Gibcus, Howes with Reed and Hoare on the bench. Obviously, Gibcus and Reed injured. Reed's out for 4 to 6, and Gibcus out for the season with ACL. Wasn't great from the back line. I'll get into Short soon, but I was happy with Dacos. 135 against Sydney, which he usually averages the least amount of Supercoach points again. So I was pretty happy with 135. That's why I didn't have him as a vice captain. It usually averages a bit lower, but Ryan Clark's not there, so looks like things might have turned around a little bit. Jaden Short, 88, looked good early. Kicked a great goal from about 60, and I put a tweet about that and how excited that I got. But once Gibkiss and Young went down for Richmond, Short was played on a wing, pushing up a bit forward. Wasn't on many kickouts after that, so really lost his role, and I'm a bit worried about that going forward. Who do they bring in? Does Short get pushed up a little bit? I'm a bit worried, so I'll talk about that a little bit later as well. Hayden Young, 70, got plenty of the ball, but just butchered it. You'll see with many of the players in my side they were playing that halfback role, they just butchered it. So Young's role was there, but again, a few injuries to Freo, 2 in the back line, so he might have to be a bit more accountable in that back line. Hopefully not. Hopefully they can bring in a tall defender and he can keep his midfield role. Fingers crossed there. Zach Williams started well in the first half. I think it was on about 49 at halftime. And only scored 2 points for the rest. That's just match fitness. The roles there, it's just he hasn't played in 18 months. And there's no fitness like match fitness. Doesn't matter how hard you train, when you first get out there, you're stuffed after 10 minutes. So he'll get better with time. Trust me there. Gibkiss, ACL, as I said, 19. Unlucky for him because he's just come back from hamstring surgery over in Germany. Was looking good. He's a key component in their defense, and unfortunately, he's gone for the season. So he is looking like someone who will have to trade out at some stage. And Howe's 64, pretty happy. I didn't watch the Melbourne game, but I'll take a 64. Zach Reed did a hammy 4 to 6 weeks early on. A bit unfortunate. And Marty Hall was on my bench on 60, which hurt seeing that I had the 19 from Gibkiss. Midfield, Bont, Butters, and Tom Green. Very happy, especially if Tom Green, 152. He's in the side because that hurt factor. And Bont and Butters did exactly what I thought they would do. Nick Martin had 18 disposals to halftime for 21 Supercoach. Every time he got the ball, he'd kick it straight to an opponent. So if he converts half of those kicks and actually hits a target, he's up for a 95 to 100-point game. So I'm happy with the role there. Just needs to use it. Ollie Wines, 94. Low time on ground, less CBAs than what we were expecting after Ken Hingley's comments. I'll take a 94, see how he goes this week. Hopefully he gets a bit more CBAs. It is a bit match fitness for him as well. So hopefully he's good for the long run. James Jordan, happy 84. Same with McKercher, 88. Sanders got bevoed, got subbed out for some reason. So that 43 will hurt, but keep an eye on him. If he gets subbed out again this week, he's probably going to have to be a trade out option just because his cash gen will be absolutely shot. So we'll see what happens there. Roberts Wilson, very happy, 69 and 66. I'll take that at their price point, and Jai Clark didn't really get into the game of 13. It's where things got spicy. I've vice Captain Grundy going off last week. He went big against Gorn. I was like, well, he's playing Darcy Cameron and Mason Cox, who can't really ruck. So he's going to go big, but he decided to have 9 clangers and 7 frees against, which again, it's 120 there. I think it was 38 points just from free kicks or something. So there's definitely scope there for him to do better. And then I was tossing up between Bont and Green for captain, but I spoke to the pig from Dr. Supercoach, and he said, "Trust me, go on captain. I'll help you out." And he helped me out a lot. Gone 162. I'm very happy. So shout out to the pig from Dr. Supercoach. Luke Jackson, Sam Flanders, happy there. Jackson, I was hoping to get a little bit more, but I'll take a 113. Fisher was the same as Martin. Got enough of the ball, just butchered it. And that 50 could have easily been an 85 to 90. Nat 5, 103, very happy. Got the ton for me, and hopefully he just keeps that body healthy, because he's looking really good at the moment. Harley Reid 78 was happy. It could have been a lot more. He got tagged after quarter time in his first game. He had 8 or 9 touches, and they're like, you know what, we're going to tag you, mate. So here's a bloke to run around with you for the whole day. So it's a bit unfortunate there, but I'll take a 78. Sexton, the same as Fisher and Martin. It was a wet game. Ball slipping around everywhere, and he got a 63, which I'll take, but that could have easily been more if he hit a few targets. And Cadman and Bukulkamas, exactly what I wanted, with 72 and 51. So, yeah, you can obviously tell that there's improvements to be made. All the halfbacks didn't hit a target, so I'm hoping next week round one jitters are out the way and they can start hitting some more targets. But I'm really happy with the squad. Obviously, Gibkiss and Reid injured doesn't help, but weirdly, I'm not going to trade any of them this week, unless some selection tomfoolery happens. But speaking of trades, let's get into the trades and what I'm going to do. All right, so I am boosting this week. Well, I'm planning to boost anyway. And the first man going is Zach Williams. And no surprise, he's going to turn into Massimo D'Ambrosio, or who some people call him Massive Bro. 122, absolutely on fire. 29 or 30 touches, just was everywhere. So his catch gen is going to be very, very handy. In 8.9% of sides, I believe that's going to go up. You'd think, but he's come in for Williams. I did say Williams will get better with game time, but I'm looking to make moves early, being a bit aggressive. So that's what's going to happen there. And that's why I'm trading out Brody Grundy and Jaden Short. Now, my plan was out of Gawn and Grundy, whoever I felt was the better option, they were going to stay, and the other one was eventually going to be traded to Tim English. And the 71 from Grundy seems like some issues with giving away free kicks with the new ruck rule. I think he's going a bit too hard. It worked against Gawn, but last week, 7 free kicks against will just kill you and kill his cash gen. So I'm trading him out, and I'm putting Luke Jackson into R2 there. With Shrek Darcy supposed to be back in 3 weeks. Hopefully I can get a price rise there. And when Darcy comes back, I'll be hopefully swapping Jackson straight to English. Now, what that means is I don't have anyone in my forward line. And I think it's pretty obvious. Isaac Heaney has to go in there. Average 140. Adams and Parker out. He's getting plenty of midfield minutes. Yes, he does have the bye, but I'm swapping Grundy basically for Heaney. So nothing really changes with my structure. That's why I was happy to bring him in. If I was keeping Grundy, I'd be a bit more weary, but I think Heaney is a must-have. So he's going straight in there, which means I need a defender for Short. Now, I do think Short shouldn't be traded out. in my personal opinion. The role was there. I did say before I was a bit worried that he might be pushed up into onto a wing, which is not what we want. He was off the ground for a while at times, not because of anything bad. It's just he was off and the ball's on the other side for 10 minutes. He couldn't get on. So um, I'm banking on Harry Sheasel to outscore him. Now, I don't advise getting rid of a primo for a primo this early on, especially one who isn't injured and has a good role. But I just feel Sheasel's just he's too tempting. He's got a bit of Dacos, Nick Dacos about him in that role, and he's just going to get the ball. So yeah, I'm going Sheasel. That might change. I might only do the 2 trades. That is something I'm going to have to think about. Obviously, Richmond have the early buy, so I'm basically getting an extra primo. Um, but that's what I'm thinking at the moment. So I'm going to click confirm that. That's what I'm thinking at the moment. Obviously, it could change. And as you'll see in a second here, I'm going to have Gibkiss and Reed both on my bench, which very risky. Obviously, if any of these guys don't play, I'm gonna have to change everything around. I'm gonna have to change my trade strategy. Um, so I'm hoping there's no carnage. I'm left with 43k in the bank. Going forward, I'm looking to move a Jai Clark or a Sanders, and one of Gibkiss and Reed next week. I'm hopefully only doing the 2 trades, so it'll be Clark to Carroll from Carlton, and Gibkiss and Reed to a defender that I'm probably Caulfield actually. So I'll probably go Gibkiss to Caulfield. Gives me an extra 25k. So I'll be up around 70k to be able to trade Jackson to Tim English at some stage. But that's how my team is looking heading into round 2. Vice captain and captains, I'll speak about very shortly, as I have a whole thing on who I think are the best VC and C. So that's my team. Tell me what you think down below. I think it's pretty stock standard. The trades are a bit risky, but I'm looking to play a bit aggressive. We've got 40 trades. I'm using a boost early. Hopefully, no one gets injured. So that is my team for the time being. All right. So what I'm looking to do is after I do my team reviews, I'm going to give you the top 5 scorers of the round. Which there were some big scores this round. A few from some surprising faces. A few that we know that can go big, but went crazy. So the top scoring player for round 1 was Caleb Sarong, 170, 45, 46 touches. Just got the ball on a string. He brought his own footy. He's got leather poison. He's got it all. Right, the man needs some attention. But he absolutely killed it. All jokes aside, someone who was in my team all preseason, and then at the end, I was trying to get the right structure, the right players that I wanted, and I chose Tom Green over Caleb Sarong, which I think is the right pick season long, as I think Sarong does have that lower ceiling. But it is annoying to see him score a 170. But his teammate Luke Ryan, 165, was the second highest. As you know, I have a thing about Luke Ryan, how I don't think he's a great selection, not because he can't score points, because I know he's going to have these niggles. He's going to have his up and down games, one good game, two bad ones, but then one really good one. Um, and it did bite me in the butt this week with a 165, but we know he can pull out scores like that. It'll be interesting to see how he goes against North Melbourne. He should score well because it is North Melbourne, but we know he can go quiet. Next was Jesse Hogan, who scored 165 as well, kicked 6 goals. Um, a few people put him in their sides for the early fixture, thinking that he could go big, and didn't he go big? He looked great. He's got another easy game this week. I think it's against West Coast. So can he go big again? He probably could. He could probably kick 10 plus. So we'll see how he goes there. Next, Maxi Gorn, who was my captain, 162. Again, very happy with that. Just absolutely towered. English, which he's done a few times. And especially with the new rules, he's a lot stronger than English. So he definitely had the upper edge there. And next is Matty Rowell, who finished off the top 5 with 155. The GOAT. A few people who I am in keeper leagues and stuff with know that I got Matty Rowell and I do not want to get rid of him. I had a few people trying to take him off me in draft, and I said, no, this is my boy. This is my GOAT. I've got acreage for him just to roll around, run around, and do whatever he pleases, which is what he did. So those are the top 5 scores for round 1. And now we're going to get actually into some footy talk, not just some stats. We're going to actually talk some footy and some super coach. So who are the players that have underperformed in round 1? Should you hold them or should you keep them? Let's try and find out. So I have 5 names here. They're, funny enough, they're all in my side. They're in majority sides, I would say. A few people have probably faded. That's completely fine. But I tried to get people who underperformed. And unfortunately, they're all in my side. So it's not going to always be players from my side. It's just how it worked out this week. So the first one is Nick Martin. I touched on him before. The halfback role, he got it. They were looking to get it to Nick Martin early, and they did. As I said, he had 18 touches to halftime, but for only 21 super coach, every time he got the ball, he'd go kick it. And unfortunately, it wasn't a Essendon jumper. It was a Hawks jumper. And I think after half time, his teammates went, look, Nick, we love you, mate. Yeah. You're one of the best users at the club. You're not quite doing it for us right now. So we're going to look at different avenues for the rest of this game. And he struggled to find it. And yeah, they weren't looking for him. So the 63, as much as it is unfortunate, he is usually a very good user of the ball, and that's why they put him in that role and put him on kickouts, because they know that he can hit those targets. Maybe he was trying to bite off a bit more than he could chew, especially for first actual game where high pressure moments are happening all the time. So hopefully in round 2 is a bit more cool, calm, and collected, and can hit those targets. For me personally, I think you hold him. He had a great role. He got plenty of it. It's just he needs to fix up that kicking. So for me personally, I would hold Nick Martin, see how he goes this week. If he has a different role or he butchers it again, then yeah, I can see a reason why you'd want to trade him next week. But for now, we picked him for a reason, so I think we back him in. Next up is Zach Fisher, another halfback. Now, he's similar to Martin, but a little bit different. So he had the same role, but he was a bit more accountable. There was a few times where he was put in positions that he had to defend. And all that came down to was Northwood losing the ball in the middle and that quick counter. Defenders have to defend, and he's playing the Jack Zeeble role where he did not defend. He just got the ball, kicked it, tried to find a target. So that is a bit worrying. But again, similar to Martin, I think he's a hold for now. I can see why people want to get rid of him because he's known to butcher it at times. But for me, I checked his heat map. The role was there, just needs to hit targets. And you'll hear me say this throughout this podcast, and you probably already heard it 19 times. They got to hit targets. These halfbacks need to hit targets. You lose so much points for um, missing targets. You know, low disposal efficiency, especially early. If you do it early, it's a lot harder to get those points. Where if you hit targets early, and then there's a few later in the game, you're not penalized as much. Where from the start, it's very hard to climb back. So, is he a hold or a keep? For me, he's a hold. And I just realized I've said hold and keep, not hold and trade. So this whole thing is scuffed, but I want to keep this in because I'm not gonna redo it. So hold or trade. I think there are reasons for Fisher to trade, but there's also reasons for him to hold. So with my trade strategy, he is a hold for me, but I can't hate your decision to trade him. So next up, after Zach Fisher, is Ollie Wines. Low time on ground, not as many CBAs, only punched out a 94. We need at least 105 from him. Played a bit forward, so it wasn't as many CBAs, so he was starting a bit more forward. Is this just a match fitness sort of ordeal? I personally think it is. With so many injuries over the last few seasons, he just wants to get a bit more consistency, a bit more run in those legs. But we do need him to get above 60% CBAs. I think he got 44, if I'm not wrong, 44 or 46% CBAs. Need to start the same, pushing those 60 to 70s while he gets his match fitness. Playing Richmond, it could be an absolute big game for him. They usually leak mid super coach points. So hopefully Wines is in there, getting the ball out and scoring big. Hold or trade. Again, my stand, he's a hold. But if you're looking to get someone who's a bit cheaper, I think Max Holmes is about 40 or 20K cheaper. You could go there, but I think majority should hold. See how he goes this week. If he gets more CBAs, then he's more likely a hold going forward. If it's still under 50% CBAs, then he is a trade, in my opinion. Brody Grundy next. For anyone who's not me, he's a hold. All right, I've already spoken about what happened on the weekend, the free kicks and the clangers. They were early on, and as I said, a lot harder to get those points back later in the game. He's a hold. He's a hold, but my strategy and what I'm looking to do, I'm going to trade, as I said, because it brings in Heaney, and I should get that big cash spike from Luke Jackson, which should be able to get me Tim English. But his intensity, his groundwork, getting around the ground, it's all there. It's all the Brody Grundy that we saw at Collingwood before he got injured. It's there. He just needs to stop these free kicks and these clangers. So I think he's a hold for 99% of super coaches, and I'm the 1%. And lastly, is Hayden Young? Is he a hold or a trade? Now he's hyped up because of this mid roll. He averaged 90 strictly as a defender, but when he moved into the middle, I think he ended up 105 over the last 5 games or something. So we want him to go 105. He needs to keep that mid roll. As I said, they had a couple injuries in defense. Is he going to have to be moved back and be a bit more accountable? Or are they going to bring in a tall defender to cover one of the talls that are out? And that means Hayden Young gets that mid time and floats back as that extra man. I think he's a hold. Wait and see for one more week. If his role does change, he has to go. Unfortunately, it's that awkward price of 525, especially with Lockie Whitfield looking to go up in price, and I can't quite remember when their buy is. It might be next week. If not, it's round 5, but I'm pretty sure it's next week. So you most likely miss out on Whitfield because there's no point getting him. And then you'd have to go down possibly. No real great options. Or you could go up, maybe look for a Houston or a Jaden Short, which I'm staying away from because there's no point trading him out and then trading him back in. So for me personally, I think Hayden Young is a hold for one more week, but I need to emphasize if his role changes, he is a trade. Now, that is all the players I had for hold or trade. I know the first 1.5 players I was calling it hold or keep. It's been a long day. Been a long day. I typed this up in the morning just before work, which is at 5:30 in the morning. So and I've just rolled with it. So I apologize for that, but it is hold or trade. So I'll just quickly recap. I think hold Martin, hold or trade Fisher, depending on what you want to do, who you're looking to get in. Ollie Wines, I think, is a hold. Grundy is a hold, and Young is a hold for this round. All right. Now, we're talking about holding and trading. Let's talk about who are the trading targets for this round. How many players I've got? I've got about 9 players here, which I'm quickly going to go through. So first up in our forward line is Jesse Hogan, 165 last round, kick 6, has West Coast this week, as I said. Could kick 10, could kick 20. I don't see him kicking any more than 20. I think 20 is his max. But there's definitely a bag there. He looked good. He looked strong, confident. Especially in round 0, he had that little hyper extension very late in the game, but he moved so well last week. And if you're looking to get someone in to get that quick spike and then trade at their buy, Jesse Hogan is the man to do so. He can get you a Heaney, he can get you a Jackson, he can get you a Flanders. And depending on your structure, like with me, I've got James Jordan, so I can swap Jordan forward, and then he can actually probably get you one of the big primos who might lose some money. Bont might lose some money. Dawson, your Olivers, your Petrarcas, possibly a Butters. He could easily get you a Tom Green off his buy. So the possibilities there are endless. So I think he's a good trade-in target. I'm personally not going to do it because I am bringing in this next man, which I said um, was an essential. He's a must-have, and that is Isaac Heaney with a 136 last week, 140 average. Horse has come out and said that the plan was always to play more midfield this year. It's just been lucky on his end that Adams and um, Parker have both gotten injured, and they're both 2 to 3 weeks away. So a lot of people are going to keep Heaney till he's by, but going off what Horse said, and yes, you can't trust what all coaches say. But he has said he wants to play Heaney more in that midfield. He thinks he brings that nice dynamic into their midfield group. So Heaney could be a season stayer. Definitely to his buy, and then when Park and Adams come back, you can reassess there. But I think he is an essential. Obviously, Hogan has the opportunity to go bigger this week, but I think Heaney will be a lot more consistent throughout the season. Next, we're looking into our midfield with Took Miller, another man who has a buy, one of those early buys, but he's looked excellent. He's looked like the Took Miller from a couple of years ago, who was averaging 125 plus. Just got the ball inside, outside, used it well. It was a wet and slippery game. He looked like it was dry conditions. Silky as always, bursting out of the packs, got plenty of it. And I think a bit of pressure is off his shoulders with Anderson and Rao really developing into those balls, and especially Anderson on that outside spread. Um, I think Miller might go a little bit under the radar with teams in regards to tags. So the only concern, obviously, is the early buy. So do you want to get him in now, and then if you have Flanders and Sexton, that's three players out, and you might have a Tom Green or a Whitfield. Can you afford that? But he is at a cheaper price, and I think he's only supposed to go up 20 to 30K depending on what he scores. So definitely achievable, especially if you're going like a Henny out at his buy, or a Luke Jackson out at his buy. You can move stuff around. So next up, Harry Mackay. Now, obviously, Carlton have the buy this week. They're not playing, but he's looked bloody good. We're used to the Harry Mackay that, you know, sprays it to the left, sprays it to the right. He's kicked 1 goal 8. He's been somewhat consistent, and he's getting plenty of the ball. Um, Playing at times as the second ruck. I think Voss has really tried to boost his confidence, getting him up into the contest, and it's working well for him at the moment. And he's sub 500K, so he's definitely one after his buy. You could get him in for a few weeks, get that spike, and around when we get DPP, which is round 7, you could possibly trade him out to someone who has that DPP. So all these options at the moment are all buy players that you could have for a few weeks for that cash gen, which is interesting. But we'll move on to someone who should be a season-long keeper, and that is Harry Sheasel, the man I am bringing in for Jaden Short, if all goes well. Playing that halfback role that we saw last year. Most of us were worried with Fisher and McKercher down there. Is he still going to be the guy? Is he going to push a bit more forward? It didn't look like it. Had, I think, the most kickouts, racked up hit targets, which is the main thing. Out of round 1, hit targets was everywhere. I don't see his role changing. I think they're going to try and use him as much as possible. So he could easily go 110, 115. At 556, he's slightly cheaper, and I think slightly underpriced going off what I think he can do. Especially early on. The big test will be if teams start to tag him. How does he deal with that, and how do um, Clarkson and the coaches trying to help him through all of that? So, um, but I think Sheasel is a good get. Um, if you can, if you have a Sicily, maybe you go Sicily straight down to Sheasel, unless you want to get Dacos, which I don't blame you to get Dacos anyway. But Sheasel, I'm happy to keep him for the whole season. Next up is Massimo D'Ambrosio. As I stated earlier, 122 everywhere, 29 or 30 disposals. His cash gen is about to rise. Unless he comes out with a massive stinker, then it sort of evens it out. But that 122, he looked like a must have. He was getting plenty of the ball, plenty of marks, plenty of kicks. He was hitting targets. He was doing it all. Can he continue that? You know, he's obviously not going to get 30 disposals each week. We're not expecting that. We're expecting, that 15 to 20. If he does that, he hits his targets. We're looking at 85, 90, and at 224K, that's going to bank us 200, 250K if he does it consistently. He's got 122 in his system, which means he should have a big spike early. But hopefully we can get a few more tons out of him. But if not, that 85, 90, if he's pushing them out, I'm going to be a very happy man, and so should you if you have him. I think he's one of the main targets this week, along with the two guys who I'm about to talk about. So next is Jack Billings. Obviously, round 0, he was the sub, came on and did nothing. But he started this game and he turned up. As I said, I didn't watch that game, but obviously he got plenty of the ball. I'm going to go out on the limb and say that they were trying to use him going inside 50. A few goals in there. And with that big ton, he's looking to make about 30K this week. A lot of people I'm seeing are going fish it down to Billings, which I don't hate that at all. And it could be something that I could possibly do this week if I keep short. I could always go fish it down to Billings. Let's just hope he doesn't start a sub. But going off last week, he probably shouldn't. And I think, banking 130K from Fisher would be massive for our side. So if you're one of those people who are a bit 50-50 on Zach Fisher and you're looking to get him out, Jack Billings is the way to go, in my opinion. And last one is Thomas Berry. Negative 75 or 65 break even. He's gone, I think he's gone 100, if not as 180. And if he scores, I think if he scores another 80, he goes up like 70K. And I believe he's 163K, so he could easily go up to 230, which is what Massimo is priced at. He's in our forward lines, so some people could even go Fisher down to Berry if they really wanted to, if they're unsure on Billings and his body. But he's a must trade in target. I'm sadly going to have to fade him just because of what I want to do with my side. I'm going to have to fade. If I had my time again, I'd probably have him on the bench at minimum. But hindsight is a beautiful thing. So he's got a great role. He's hard at it. He's moving really well. moving up and down those wings, trying to get inside 50s, just everywhere at the moment. Contested ball. He's doing honestly, he's doing everything. Let's just hope that this isn't a little purple patch and he's actually starting to develop with some opportunities. But at 165 odd K, he is definitely a must trade in target if you can. And obviously with Gibcus and Reed out, we're probably looking for some defensive rookies. If you don't have Marty Hall or Nick Caulfield, if you don't have one of those are the guys that you should probably look to bring in. Caulfield, better job security in my opinion, but Hall has that better scoring output. Just make sure you check teams, make sure that they're both playing before you make these trades, but they have that halfback role. Hall a bit more of that in interceptor, and Caulfield has a lower ceiling. He could definitely drop another 40, but he could also go 75, 80. So those are people who I think you should look to try and target this week. I'll quickly just run through them again. Jesse Hogan, Isaac Heaney, Took Miller, Harry Mackay, Harry Sheasel, Massimo D'Ambrosio, Jack Billings, Thomas Berry, and either Marty Hall or Nick Caulfield. Whew. I forgot how hot you get when you're talking. You know, you got the screen there, you got another screen here, lights on. It's hot. Look, starting to go red. All right, but let's move on to the last part of this podcast. I'm having a bit of fun here, and that is our captain options, our vice captain, and our captain options. Obviously. I'm going to do it in orders of like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. In that order, I'll tell you the VC and a reason why these people should be considered. So that Thursday game, we have Saints versus the Pies, the MCG. And I think the only VC option out of this is Nick Dacos. Off 135 last week. He scored 128 last season in the only game against the Saints. He could go big. They don't really tag, and if they try and tag, he's got the tank where he can run up and beat them back. He takes kick-ins. So if he's finding it a bit hard, they give him the ball. Here, mate, go for a little run, go for a kick, get your hands on it, try and build up that confidence. He could go absolutely massive. I can see him going 140, 150 plus. And yeah, he's really the only one out of that game. Next up is the Friday night. You got Adelaide versus Geelong at Adelaide Oval. And I think take your pick between Led or Dawson, depending on who you have, if you have any of them anyway. Against the Cats on that Friday, probably a vice captain option. I think if you vice captain Nick Dacos, you won't be captaining these guys. So if you're gonna try and loop these guys, it will be as a vice captain. If I had to choose one, it would be Dawson. He looked to have more CBAs. He's that more silky player. I can see him going that solid 120, 125. But we all know Led can go big as well. In that same game, we've got Tom Stewart on the Cats' end. So versus the Crows on that Friday night. In his second last game against the Crows, he went 174. In saying this was at GMHBA, which is very different to Adelaide Oval, but we know what Stewart can do. He's that interceptor. They look for him to switch the ball. He gets plenty of it. He could go massive. Again, with this game, you're probably using a vice captain. You probably wouldn't captain him. As we move towards Saturday afternoon at 1:45, you have North versus Freo at Marvel Stadium, and I've got LDU here versus the Doctors. Sorry, Dockers. Now this could be a VC or C, depending if you want to put that VC on Dacos or any of the others. Last time he played the Dockers, he scored 155. I'm unsure where that was at, if that was at Optus or if it was at Marvel or Tassie. But LDU has looked strong. He's looking fit. 155 last time around, so we know he can score well. They won't have a tagger. If anyone, Hayden Young will stand on him as that defensive midfielder, but probably won't tag because he wants to get his own ball and get that ball going forward. So LDU there. Next is Cabs the Wrong in the same game. Went 170 last week. He could do it again. I don't expect him to do it again. But I can see a 130, 140. Again, he's that VC or C option, depending on who you want to go for. I'd probably like him over LDU if I was trying to choose someone in this game, just because pure last week. And I don't think the Roos really have anyone to tag him. So take your pick there. Next up is the 4:35 game, Hawthorn versus Melbourne. Max Gawn is someone who I'm seriously looking at, if that's a VC or a C. Against Ned Reeves, he could go 160 again, but he could even push 180. He's just too strong, too good around the ground. You expect Melbourne to be all over Hawthorn, make him feel the pressure. And what Gordon likes to do is he likes to stand down the line, right? So if the ball's in Melbourne's forward line, they usually get a Van Ruin or someone down there to do the ruck work, and Gorn's down the line for that quick kick. He gets that easy mark going straight back into the forward line. And I think that's probably what happened last week. He was able to do that, and he's going to absolutely dominate these ruck contests. So Max Gawn, someone I'm really, really looking at. And then you have Christian Petrarca versus the Hawks. In his last 3 games, he's gone a 148 and 131 in there. I'm pretty sure that one was like 107 or 111, somewhere around there. So known scorer versus the Hawks. Will Day out. You got Newcomb and a few young guys. Again, could go massive. Could push forward, kick 2 to 3 goals, get his 30 touches. You could be looking at a 150. I do prefer Max Gawn over Petrarca though. And most people out there probably have Gawn over Petrarca in their sides anyway. But yeah, both could go absolutely massive. And I'm sorry, Hawthorn fans, but I don't think you have a chance. Next, we're going into the 7:30 game down at up at the SCG, where you got Sydney versus the Bombers. I've put Zach Merritt down first versus the Swans as a captain option. I think if you're not vice captaining Dacos, you're definitely vice captaining Gawn. And I think you probably captain Gawn if you vice captain Dacos anyway. So Zach Merritt as a captain option. In his last 2 games, he's gone 139 and 140 against the Swans. So Ryan Clark not there. They're not really going to tag. And he could be unleashed. He gets the ball everywhere. Parrish, I'm pretty sure he's still out, so he's going to be the guy. They're going to try and get in his hands. He's their best user. He's the captain. And if they really want to start pushing for that top 8, they're going to have to play well against the better side. So he could up his game for this big occasion. So he's definitely an option. You do have Errol Goulden in the same game. Last time they played, he went 152. So that was probably during his purple patch at the end of last season, where he was really pushing for that Brownlow. and he just went bang, 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 bang. You know what you get with Gordon. He's looked a little bit off. You know, not as impactful as we saw at the end of last season, but he just might be easing into the game, and we could see him go big, especially at the SCG. And then we have his teammate Chad Warner versus the Bombers on the Saturday. He's a consistent 115 plus against the Bombers. A few 120s, I think a 130 in there, but usually you're going to bank him in for a 115. And his second last game against the Bombers, he went 155. So another one of those guys who could go big, likes playing against his opposition. We could see him really turn it on, and he's looked their best player, especially in that midfield over the last few weeks. Anyway, now we move to the Sunday games at 1:00. We've got the Dogs versus the Suns at Mars Stadium, which I believe is in Ballarat. So first up, we'll go Matty Rowell versus the Dogs. He went 159 in his last game against the Doggies. He'll be going head to head with Libba. Libba won't be tagging. He'll be trying to get his own ball. So we'll have just two bulls going at it. On a smallish ground, I'm pretty sure the weather's supposed to be pretty good. So it'll be all the down and dirty in the contest for Rao. We know what we get with him. Definitely that captain option. But don't forget, you also have Marcus Bontempelli, who's the next one. He's gone consistently 125 plus in his last three games against the Suns. So you could see a 130, a 140 here easily. That 125, I feel like it's safe. So if you want to do a riskier VC and then go safe with Bond, I think that's more than good as a strategy. And it's the Bond. We know what the Bond can do. Now, I don't have Tim English down there, but Tim English usually does score well in Ballarat. I think he went 133 last time. So if you back him against Wits, but these new rules, I think Wits just overpowers him, much like Gorn did last week. Next is the 4:00 game, Richmond versus Port. Only the one player, and that's Zach Butters. He went 158 in his last game. Again, I think it's similar with Goulden towards the end of last season when he was just dominating. It doesn't matter who he played, he just went off. As I said earlier, when I was talking about Ollie Wines, Richmond do leak points in the midfield. So we could definitely see Butters go absolutely huge. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a 140 plus. They're not going to tag. But I just think there are better and safer options out there. But if you like a bit of spice, bit of risk, Butters is definitely there. As we move to the last game of the round, West Coast versus GWS at Optus Stadium. No surprise, they're all going to be GWS players. So first one is Tommy Green, went 152 last week, could go huge. I've put here, I can see a world where he goes 200 here. He's just looked so dominant. Probably he's the most dominant player in the competition. He just gets the ball and you can't tackle him. He gets it enough. He does his own tackles. He hits targets. He's moving well. He's really built that engine so he can run all day. He's their number one midfielder. They're going to try and get it into his hands at the contest. He could go absolutely huge. So he's the first one. Next is Josh Kelly for a little bit of a cheekier one. He's had 2 scores of 125 plus in the last 3 against the Eagles. It's the Eagles. You can see Green, Kelly, Canelio all go huge. I don't have Cogs in here because I feel like he's the one to go a little bit quieter. If I had to choose one of the 3, to go quieter, he'd be the one. So next is Lockie Whitfield, in even smokier, spicier captain selection. You could find plenty of it. If they kick enough points, he's going to take those kick outs. He's going to rack up his 30. You could see him go 130 here. Again, probably go Green over him, probably go Gorn over him, probably go Bont over him for that captain. But I think he's gone a little bit under the radar. So keep your eyes out for him. And the last one is the spiciest of all spices, and that is Jesse Hogan. 165 last week, kick 6. As I said, he could kick 10 plus this week. We could see another 160, 180 if he really gets a hold of them. GWS should get plenty of the pie. I see it just been dominance, and Jesse Hogan could go absolutely massive. He's just too big, too strong. He's got that confidence. He'd go absolutely huge. So those are my vice captain and captain options. For me personally, I'll probably be looking Dacos into Gorn, but if I don't want to go that, I'll probably go a Gorn into a Bont. Will probably be what I'm looking to do personally. Definitely going to have Gorn in there. As yeah, it just depends on Dacos. Do I back my man in? Do I back him in? I probably should. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Those are the VC and Cs for this round. The good thing is, don't forget, we do have Carlton and Brisbane who do have the bye, which means any of those players you can keep on the field and use them as a loophole. And that can go all the way up to the last game lockout. So make sure you use that to your advantage if you want to loophole your VC. And that's it. That's going to do us for this first podcast back. I feel like I'm a little bit rusty, especially with the whole hold or keep segment. But that was definitely supposed to be a hold or trade. So I apologize for that. I probably rambled and mumbled a little bit. It's been a while. It's been over a year. But I'm glad to be back. Glad to get the microphone out, the video out. Even if it's not, the highest of high quality. But hopefully I have given you some information that will help you with some trades or your vice captain, or just really, should I hold this player? What was their role? And yeah, really just trying to give my thoughts and my insights on Supercoach for each round, and hopefully you enjoyed. So thank you all for watching. Don't forget you can hit us up on Twitter/X at Breakevens Pod, on Facebook on our Facebook page, The Breakevens, and over here on YouTube, The Breakevens. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow, whatever it is on that platform. It really helps us out. We're always trying to communicate with you all. So we'll try and get through all questions that we can as soon as possible. As we know, life can get busy. That's why I'm recording the first podcast for the after round 1. But I've had an absolute blast. So thank you all again for watching. And until next time, it's bye for now.